Sri Manishankaraya. Manishankaraya.
Sir, the Honorable Minister of External Affairs, in the statement that was laid on the table of the House on Thursday, has repeatedly used the word advice. It is for the party who is advised to decide whether the advice tendered should or should not be taken. What has ruined our relationship with our most important strategic neighbor is that in reality, we have converted advice into orders. You cannot force your advice on a sovereign, independent, constituent assembly. Nepal's constituent assembly has 116 elected representatives from the Tarai region. Of these, 105 Tarai representatives voted for the constitution. Do we know the Nepal Tarai better than Tarai's democratically elected representatives? Yes, we warned that an agitation would break out if the amendments we proposed were not accepted. But who is running that agitation? Certainly not the 105 elected representatives of the Tarai region who were in the constitution and voted in favor of the constitution. Only 11 elected members of the Tarai voted against it. I think we should have some sense of proportion in whom we support, whom we don't. We have a Madheshi delegation in Delhi just now. It consists of 4 members. 3 of them were defeated in the elections. The 4th stood in 2 constituencies and lost from 1. So who is representative of the views of the people of the Tarai? Should our interference in Nepal's affairs amount to telling the voters of the Tarai whom they should vote for? Sir, instead of rushing a special envoy to sort out the practical problems caused by the current agitation, the only special envoy the government has sent was a man who, according to one Nepali commentator, behaved as if he were Lord Curzon. Now, I know this Foreign Service officer. He has high propriety. He's a very well-behaved, well-spoken young man. So why did he behave as if he were Lord Curzon? Was he under instructions from the Prime Minister's office to misbehave in Nepal? In any case, what did he achieve from this misbehavior? So we have only last month debated our commitment to the Constitution, which we adopted on the 26th of November, 1949. Would we have stood for a foreigner arriving uninvited the next day to tell us not to promulgate our Constitution, not to proclaim it? That is exactly what happened in Nepal on the morrow of their ending 7 years of earnest struggle to arrive at a national consensus. They had arrived at a national consensus. Why were we trying to undermine that national consensus? Especially when the situation in our country is that if we can amend our constitution more than 100 times, the GST Constitution Amendment Bill is numbered 122. If we can amend our constitution 122 times, why can't we trust the Nepalis to make their amendments after promulgating the new constitution? Please remember, sir, that the Constituent Assembly has decided that the parliament which exists just now will continue functioning as a constituent assembly even after it becomes a parliament. And there has been a decision taken by the Nepal cabinet, which is in the public domain, that there are issues that are outstanding and that they will sort these out through amendments to the Constitution. It is they themselves who pledged to do this. Why should we go and tell them that we don't trust you, we want to hold you to your pledge, you must do it immediately, and do it today because day after tomorrow you're promulgating the Constitution? Is this the manner in which we treat with a sovereign, neighbor of ours. We added insult to injury by describing their largely adopted constitution. There were only 25 members who voted against it. More than 500 members voted in favor. And yet we described in our official spokesman's statement their constitution as a constitution, not the constitution. Not a word of felicitations. No congratulations on their changing a Hindu kingdom into a secular republic. Not a word of welcome. So naturally, the Chinese stepped in. We gave the Chinese a golden opportunity of being one up on us in the general affections of the Nepali people. Let me just read out to you one comment. All that goodwill, he is referring to Prime Minister Modi's visit, has now been squandered by decision makers in New Delhi who have callously turned an entire generation of Nepalis against India. This is the great achievement of our democracy as viewed by the Nepali Times on the 5th of December 2015. We have another Nepalese commentator who writes in the Indian press, Yuvraj Grime, saying the current standoff is only a manifestation of India not knowing where and when to stop, even when there were clear signs of India's role being counterproductive. And I have a final quotation from another Nepalese commentator, Krishna Sanjali, who said the standoff between the two neighbors is not really about the recently adopted constitution or the rights of the excluded Plains community. It is about bruised egos in the New Delhi establishment trying to teach Nepali politicians a lesson for not listening to them. Is this how we wish to be perceived in Nepal? Is this not how we are being perceived in Nepal? The children of Nepal are being told that they can't go to school because India is stopping them. The women of Nepal are being told that they cannot have food, fuel, medicines, vaccines for their children because India is stopping them. What are we achieving by this kind of behavior? I don't know. Nepal we have considered as our pasban. I'm quoting from Iqbal. The guardian who is protecting us from the north. And it is this pasban that we are humiliating in the manner in which we are doing. However noble might be your intentions, Madam Foreign Minister, I am afraid this is not the way to pursue them. I really find it impossible to imagine that this is your foreign policy. For when one reads your statement, a sweet reasonableness pouring like treacle out of it. So who is responsible for this kind of bad behavior? Who is being an authoritarian vis-a-vis you and making you behave like an authoritarian vis-a-vis a neighboring country? Chuppi todo, chuppi todo. Whether the External Affairs Minister agrees or not, that we have in effect imposed an undeclared blockade on Nepal, most public opinion in Nepal believes that we have. This has alienated an entire generation and an entire people from us. Is this the strategic objective of your foreign policy vis-a-vis our northern neighbor? Again and again it has been stated in this House, and I trust you'll respond to it, that the UNICEF Executive Director has estimated that 3 million children, 30 lakh children, as pointed out by Sri Ram Prakash, under the age of 5 are at risk of death or disease if the blockade continues. Now, this is a human tragedy of such proportions that the least humanity should have led to our rushing teams to Nepal to work with the Nepali authorities on finding alternative routes or on pacifying the agitators. It has been pointed out in this debate that there are many routes into Nepal. My own information is there are 27 of these. Only one of these is blocked, or perhaps 1.5 of these is blocked. Why aren't we doing the humanitarian thing of ensuring that through other routes, along this corridor, this border which is nearly 1,800 kilometers long, we can't find entry points to go in there? Or the suggestion that Shri Karan Singh made, Dr. Karan Singh made, that we airlift vital medical supplies at least to them, that we airlift, that we find some way of getting the fuel in there. For if we don't, it's not as if Nepal doesn't have an alternative. Nepal can either look southwards or it can look northwards. For a long, long time, the Himalayas were impenetrable. They no longer are. They can be penetrated, they can be flown over, and there are land routes that can be opened between Tibet and Nepal. And if any of these were to be used, then the strategic objective of our having a certain number of states, independent sovereign states, on the northern borders of India will be defeated. And if they are defeated, our internal security is more threatened than by the Whistleblowers Protection Bill. Are we siding with the agitators? 2 minutes, sir. Are we siding with the agitators? There seems to be a suspicion everywhere, not only in Nepal, but in several sections of India, that we are siding with the agitators. And if we are doing so, then we are only exacerbating the situation. This is not punchy. This is bullying. This is what Rajiv Gandhi used to call the quest for dominance. He used to say that about the imperial powers. He must be wondering why we have become victims of that syndrome. So instead of sending an all-party delegation to Nepal, because I'm not sure that we have an adequate consensus in this House, as the External Affairs Minister herself has proposed, I would suggest that we open individual political channels, as Dr. Manmohan Singh did. When there were tensions, he used members of the opposition, not just of his own, not only his own government. He used Dr. Karan Singh, of course, but he also used Comrade Yechuri. He used Sharad Yadav. Why is it that you are hesitating from doing that? We are also available as willing hands and willing minds, but we are not ready to join in your bullying. If we are going to go and talk reasonably, preferably secretly, don't please choose me. Choose somebody like Dr. Karan Singh. He can go and talk to them. And he can explain to them that the blockade is the doing of the Modi government, not of India. We have to make it clear to the Nepalis that India is not harming them. It is the Modi government that is harming them. So I would suggest that if you are not intending to harm them, you rush a technical team immediately to work out how to lift the blockade or how to bypass it, how to undertake airlifting. There are at least 27 alternative routes available for reaching food, fuel, essential medicines and vaccines to our neighbor. Please don't create a situation in which clashes are provoked. Remember, there are 500,000, that is 5 lakh Madhesis living in Kathmandu and in that valley. If you start joining hands with those who are conducting the agitation instead of functioning as a good neighbor who pacifies matters, you may end up endangering the very people whom you pretend to protect. Please do not allow the situation in Nepal to become as it became in Sri Lanka in 1984. Please stop all this provocation. Turn to the Nepalis as a friend. Stretch your hand out to them. And if we see that the government of India is being friendly towards Nepal, that's the right time when an all-party delegation goes and says, we support you. You send an all-party delegation now, and even if I keep my mouth, of course I've said I won't be in it, but even if I keep my mouth shut in the official meetings, They all know in Nepal what is the stand that I've been taking. Therefore, if we don't do all the things that I've suggested, we will lose the game to the Chinese and forfeit the goodwill of the Nepalese people for years and years to come. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think that is now discussion hour. I think